Well, one of the first memories I have of her is her coming over to our house one evening and she had a black eye.
She's a go-getter. She doesn't give up. She looks for the positive.
Really gain a new respect for how strong my mom is and the work that she had to put in. You know, single mother, full-time job, still went back to school, got her creative writing master's degree, and has now written a book.
Meet Janet Cheney, author, teacher, mother, and survivor. A woman who turned life's challenges into opportunities for growth, healing, and inspiration. Her book, So Many Freakin Secrets, shares her story and provides guidelines for anyone working to overcome a traumatic past. Janet's journey has been one of searching, healing, and discovery. She found her birth family and, in the process, found herself.
I am Janet Cheney. I was born in San Francisco, California in 1952 and adopted into a family where I grew up in Prescott, Arizona. When I was 13 months old, I had a brother and sister that I grew up with that were birth children of my adopted family. And later, I found my birth family. Now I have 5 bonus brothers and sisters.
And I am so excited to introduce you to my friend and an author, Janet Cheney. We're so excited for you to hear about her incredible journey of writing her book and what her book is about, because it is out. So Janet, tell us please the name and title of your book, and then also what it's about.
The name of my book is So Many Freakin Secrets. It's a memoir. Start out with, I was a hippie, and hippies were all about breaking the mold, changing the world for the better. Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Stills and Nash, all those guys, I could really get with that. But underneath that was a violent, unhappy marriage that I had. Enmeshed with painful hidden secrets from my past, being raised with an adopted family. So I created a groovy new relationship with Jesus. I was a Jesus freak, and with God, which gave me some courage to go find answers to all of that. So I uncovered some secrets, not just for myself, but for my children. And the main question is, can you find the answers to your past? Can you uncover those secrets and heal from it? And the answers to all of that was my journey, and it was amazing. I came out with a lot of wonderful, great me from that.
I know that as you were writing this book, you recognized that there was an inherently deep message, because there's so many people that are facing secrets and complex PTSD and other things. Who are you reaching with your book?
Anybody that's had a painful past, which takes in a lot of people. Maybe more so women. Women that have been cowed, women that have had to keep their voice silent, maybe women that don't even know they have a voice. Women who don't realize that if you could take a step forward, one step at a time, let God direct you to the right path, you can overcome a lot of things and develop a life that you want, even if it's just having fun with your grandchildren. You can do that and be happy.
When Janet was a little girl, she had only limitations of fear. And now, in her recovery process, she has developed sensitivity and openness and vulnerability when she chose She was no longer the victim. And that's probably the most important gift that she gives to people through her book, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that no matter how much trauma they've been through, and no matter how scary and upsetting and fearful they've experienced their lives to be, Janet, through her book, is giving them hope for the future.
So I'm going to take you back a little bit. So you were a hippie.
I was, girlfriend.
In the age of hippies. So tell us a little bit about what was the lifestyle like?
I didn't want to be in the drug culture, but that came with the name, I guess. My then husband was a Vietnam veteran. He was already into all of that. And we partied on the weekends. We did the drinking, we did the drugs. We had all kinds of people in our apartment from all walks of life. Some of them were probably dangerous people, but we were all in our elements. So, but one day I dropped acid, and my then husband went off with a friend to go find some speed so he could go to work on Monday. And I had a bad trip. And I saw all kinds of flying, horrible creatures. Is this what you want me to talk about? But that changed everything for me, because I said, okay, enough of this. And
you made a significant shift.
I did. And I woke up on that Monday morning, and I remembered my grandmother from when I was a little girl, who had taken me to church and been my advocate, who said, "What are you doing with your life?" She had passed away. And I felt her like she was in the room with me, almost like, "Hello, stupid. Can you do something about this? Because what you're doing is going to not give you a life." So I made a decision that I needed to tell my husband, I'm done with this. Then I found out I was pregnant, and I said, I'm not raising a child like this. You know, it's one thing to party on the weekends and be whatever, whenever, but not for a child.
So there were changes that you knew you needed to make, and some things that you may not have been capable or willing to do for yourself. But once there was a child in the mix,
that's right.
You decided to make a huge change.
Yeah, because I married somebody who was very controlling, because that's what I knew growing up. So that was big for me to stand up to him, but I could do it for my child.
Yes.
You know. So we had a big fat argument. He said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want to go back to church." And he told me that he would only go to his childhood church, and I said, "Okay, I'll try that." I had been exposed to several other religions, and as long as they were Christian, that was fine with me.
Despite their shared faith, Janet's tumultuous marriage ultimately dissolved in divorce. Undeterred, she channeled her energy into her children and her professional pursuits.
Dave eventually did get help for his problem long after we got divorced, and went back to school, got a master's degree. We laughed sometimes on the phone. He got remarried. He came to terms with his PTSD and figured out who he was and why he was the way he was in our marriage. He apologized to me, actually, at a certain point. So I would say to you, if you are with somebody that has PTSD, try not to take upon yourself their behavior. Have a healthy boundary for yourself. And if you don't know how to do that, find somebody that will teach you how to do that. We live in a remarkable time when there are people with all kinds of gifts and skills that can help you to heal.
One fateful night after her divorce, Janet and a friend went out dancing. She met a handsome man who persuaded her to try a drink he bought her instead of her usual 7-Up.
And I said, what is this? He said, oh, well, I saw you with your friend. You were drinking 7-Up, but this is a Shirley Temple. It's got grenadine syrup in it, and it's got a little bit of a cranberry flavor to it. I think you'll like it. It's really tasty. So I started to drink that, and I liked the flavor of that. And so I drank some more, and then my head started to get a little fuzzy, and I drank some more, and then I the room started to spin, and he said, maybe are you okay? Maybe I should just take you home. Well, maybe it's because I haven't been out away from everybody, and he's flattering me, and it's wonderful to dance with such a handsome man. And I let this man drive me home, and I went to check on my sons, and they were all asleep, and one thing led to another, and we were wrestling on the couch, and there were things happening that I hadn't had happen since my husband had left me, and I didn't like that, and I tried to get out from under him, and he was heavy and he was drunk, and I realized, well, it's not like I'm a virgin or something. I'll just let him do whatever, and then he'll go away. Next thing I know, I woke up in the morning and my clothes were on the floor, and I was covered with a blanket, and he was gone, and my kids were all fortunately asleep. And then I realized what had happened. I went to a clinic in Las Vegas to have a pregnancy test and sat in the waiting room looking at the Planned Parenthood signs and all of the things around me about how alcohol and drugs were not good for babies, and waited for this nurse to come back and say, okay, with her clipboard, you are 3 months pregnant. Now we can schedule your abortion for, wait a minute. So I'm pregnant. Yes. And so your abortion, we can do that in 3 weeks. No. I didn't come here to get an abortion. Well, what did you come here for? Well, I wanted to find out if I was pregnant. Well, I told you, you're 3 months pregnant. Okay. Well, I don't want an abortion. Well, that's what we do here. Well, I don't want an abortion, thank you. I was stunned that somebody would automatically think, because I had come there as a single woman, that I wanted an abortion. Dave, when he was my husband, we liked to read Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Well, Ken Kesey had said, you don't plow under the corn because you don't like the farmer. And that was my attitude about abortion, along with being a Christian and feeling like that was just not something I would even think about. You bring a child into the world, plus the fact I wouldn't be here if abortion had been as acceptable as it was in that time, 1980, because my mother got pregnant from having an affair, and I'm the result of that affair. So how could I possibly consider having an abortion? So I gave birth to that child May 1st, 1981.
She's an amazing woman, and I'm extremely proud to be her son and learn from her. Yeah, obviously this was conversations, as I became an adult and we look back, and I just simply told her, that if we're able to find him at any point, I would accept him as a brother. He's got family in me.
Seeing the positive effects that my mom's influence has had on me, and listening to her, her stories and things that she's had to overcome, anybody's going to get help from that, just through the inspiration of what she's overcome, but also from the practical steps that she's taken in her life to overcome, challenges.
This book can inspire others to take action and also help them feel they're not alone.
Some encounters in life leave an indelible mark. Moments where admiration meets destiny. For Janet, meeting the legendary Orson Welles was one of those moments.
So one day, I got a chance to be a contractor for Merv Griffin Enterprises, and he was running his afternoon show, and he would have celebrities come on his show that were either talking about their latest movie or their television show. But coming out of film school, one of the biggest people that I admired was Orson Welles. I had done a whole class on his work alone, other than just Citizen Kane. Here I am working at Merv Griffin Enterprises, and we get the production sheet of who's going to be on the show, and all of a sudden Orson Welles is going to be on Merv Griffin. Oh my gosh. I could hardly breathe. I couldn't believe I had to go down and see the show. We were not allowed necessarily. Nobody said anything, but we didn't go down to the studio where they were filming for television, and I had to go. I just had to be there in the room with him. So I stood in the back of the studio, all of the audiences in front of me. Here's the stage with Merv Griffin's setup, and here comes Orson Welles walking out in front of the curtains before they open the curtains. And I thought, I have to meet this guy. I have to meet him. So I went around to the back of the studio. The studio guard said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I have to meet Orson Welles, and I won't be inappropriate. I just want to say thank you. I came out of film school, and he's a big hero to me." And the guard looked me up and down. I'm sure he thought I fell off the turnip truck. And he said, "Well, okay, if anybody asks, I didn't know you were here." It's like, great. Orson Welles came out the side of the studio door. He had on a black caftan. He walked with a cane. He saw me. He got a little twinkle in his eye and a smile. He approached me, and I shook his hand, and I said, "Mr. Welles, I don't want to impose on your privacy, but I wanted to say I'm a big fan, and it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm just thrilled to be able to listen to you talk and to meet you." And he said, "You're not from around here, are you?" And I said, "No, I just came out of film school somewhere else." He said, "What film school?" And I said, "Brigham Young University." And he said, "I heard that's quite a good film school." I said, "Actually, it is. We do a whole section on your work." So when I say I'm a fan, I know a little bit more than just Citizen Kane. And he got very quiet, and he looked at the ground. It's going to make me choke up. And he said, "I didn't think anybody cared anymore." And I said, "Well, we do. We do care, and we're very grateful for the originality, for the inventions that you created, that we have great motion pictures." He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I want to do what you did. I want to write and direct," thinking, oh gosh, he's going to laugh up his sleeve. And he said, "Good for you. Some of the best people I've ever worked with in this business have been women." Then he shook my hand. He wished me well. He went and got in his big black Chrysler. He had a man driver. The man handed him a little black Pomeranian dog. He gave me a little wave, and they drove away. And the next day I came into work, and the man at the guard desk, who was my friend, said, "Did you hear what happened? Orson Welles died last night." So that was my Orson Welles experience. And it wasn't until many years later, telling the story to somebody and saying, how come I got that privilege? Why was I one of the last people that got to speak to him? I'm not anybody, and of course I didn't go on with a career in film, so how come? And one of my students said to me, "Well, I know why. He needed to hear that we still cared about him and what he had done. He needed to hear it." So, Janet, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. It was about Orson. And he got to hear that people still cared.
Janet discovered true love with Merlin, a relationship and marriage that blossomed with profound joy, only to be tragically cut short by his untimely passing. In his final moments, Merlin's most heartfelt wish was for Janet to complete her deeply inspiring memoir.
And so I married the love of my life. We only had 4 years together because he got ill suddenly and passed away 2 years ago. But I had 4 amazing years with a man that could speak to me in a way that I didn't know that I could have a conversation with a man about literature, about politics, about God, about religion in a competent, mature, interesting way that was a give and take. I didn't know there was such a thing like that because the marriage that I grew up with in my adopted parents was a codependent, enabling relationship that wasn't healthy. So I didn't know marriages accepted like that. So God blessed me with Merlin Cheney. So I am Janet Bernice Cheney, and very grateful to say that.
The grieving was hard, but once again, her faith and knowing that they was going to be together again after this life, and just Janet has this way of picking herself up, and she's got friends that are there for her. I think talking to people helped her. Merlin was such a good soul, and he's the one that actually encouraged her to write this book.
I have been a widow for 2 years. I still feel that Merlin watches over me. I am still here for a reason, and that was something that was a reality that I had to take in and accept about who I am and why I am here. When Merlin was ill, he said to me, "So while I'm laying here getting better, what are you going to do?" Oh, I gave him my reasons, and he said, "Go finish your book." Because I had started writing a book as part of my master's thesis. And I said, "Well, I've written the same thing over and over and over." He said, "Then get somebody to help you and finish your book." So I finished my book, as you know now from this documentary. But in the process, I was also learning to be a widow and realizing that I'm still here for a reason. I still have a purpose in life. I have learned many life lessons from the challenges that the Lord has allowed me to have. And some of that is to say that everything that life has taught me provided change in my life. I learned to change because I needed to. I learned to ask for help and learned to trust it because I needed it. People came into my life that helped me and taught me that I can still pursue being a whole person and living what the scriptures teach me. And I do believe Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." I'm still here. I still have a future. There's still a reason for me to be alive.
I had this accident 3 years ago, and she really supported me like a lot more than I expected, and it really changed our relationship. Or maybe I've allowed her to be more of a mother, but really that's a triumph and a challenge right there for us. But I don't know. She's really becoming more patient and understanding.
She was a survivor in each situation and somehow dealt with all of them. Many other people would have simply fallen apart and quit, maybe even quit life. But she did not, and I truly admired that all the time. So I think other people can, if they read the book carefully, can really
get some hope.
Have hope from reading it and see that they don't have to be stuck. I think a person needs to remember that there is always hope, even though it may seem so far away they can't see it at all. But that people can change based on what choices they decide to make. And
we can control their destiny to some degree.
I might just say, for Janet and for the people that maybe see this or that read her book, that, look at the details of what she's gone through. Be aware of her determination to be somebody different than what life handed her. She's, and that takes a lot for anybody. We each have to have that determination in our own heart. Nobody's going to do that for us. If we don't make that choice ourselves, that doesn't happen.
Janet knows that for years, people can be where she was. And so Janet pulled together information, therapy concepts, and outlined them in a way that will allow her to teach and care and support someone else who's not where she is at this point. She supports all those who are listening. She has taught them how to reach out to a professional that was capable and willing. And she also understood the important role of the little girl.
When I got feedback from people that I didn't know, it was very humbling that I actually could say and do something that maybe helped somebody else. One of my friends said, "This book is a true narrative that brings hope to those other people that have gone through trauma. It shows the importance of our words and actions that we use towards other people. Janet's willingness to share her story in raw vulnerability is a testament to the strides she has made in her healing journey, and it gives me hope that I can have a healing journey as well." I was immediately able to relate to the author's inability to identify tragedy and family dysfunction at a young age. My heart went out to her as a little girl, starving for love and affection, much like we all did. I admire her life's journey and her recognition of good people and God to bring her through every traumatic experience and become the person she is today. I recommend this book to my son, who is studying psychology, and I highly recommend it to you. Thank you, Janet. God bless. A wonderful, inspiring story. Janet spoke to my heart. Her life experiences are incredible and drew me in so fast I didn't want to stop reading. In fact, I read through the night. Her courage and faith impacted my own. She is a true shero, and this book will have an impact on you as well. It is well written. So that was very moving and very humbling and very much a testament to the fact that God knows what he's doing and that adversity and trauma and difficulties in life can turn into life blessings for you as well as for other people.
Janet Cheney, a woman who embodies resilience, faith, and the power of rewriting life's story. Janet Cheney's memoir, So Many Freakin Secrets, is now available through multiple platforms, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, eBay, Walmart, and local bookstores.